Sandra just said she has an issue with her camera. So we're going to bring her up the stream anyway. Hi, Sandra. At least you have your picture so that we can see you.
Can you hear me okay?
We can definitely hear you okay.
Oh, I'm so glad. Yeah, I looked at my MacBook settings and it's not got StreamYard as one that I can give access to.
Yes, that'll take some time to go back into settings. I did the same thing on Monday. My computer crashed, so now I'm on my daughter's and I had to redo all of that.
Crazy.
But we're here and we're making it work, right? Do whatever we can. So, Sandra, we have been playing this week with this question about if there were 3 words that you would love other people to describe you as, what might those 3 words be?
Quirky, different. So quirky, different, and asexual.
Ooh, okay. So now you have to tell us why you chose quirky, different, and asexual.
So I'm all about embracing your quirky in your life and business to live a happy, successful, and fulfilling existence. So I'm all about being your true, authentic self, raw and real in the moment. And I do a show for asexuals, which is Asexualise My Asexual Life, and I do raw, real, authentic videos on there. So it's like a reality TV show. And I just post stuff about my day, but I also educate people about asexuality. I take part in interviews like this about asexuality. And so I do a mixture of entertainment, education, information, and just lifestyle. So it's changed from just being education years ago in 2015 when I started the channel to being like all about my life, and it's had over 500,000 views. I'm on target for 600,000 views soon as well. So
nice. Congratulations.
Thank
and
you.
For those who don't know, can you remind us or tell those who don't know at all, what is asexual?
Oh, so asexuality is a sexual orientation that's based on a lack of sexual attraction. And so I'm known as a heteromantic asexual. So I'm attracted to the opposite gender, hetero, which in my case, because I'm born female, a cis female, or however you prefer to describe it. And so I'm attracted to guys only, romantically, and in multiple other ways, like aesthetically, intelligently, creatively, close attraction. I've got a lot of attractions going on, but I'm not sexually attracted to anyone. So if I look at a guy, for me personally, because I love kissing, which is a lot of kissing, which is quite rare for asexuals to have want a lot of kissing, then I look at a guy and want to snog his face off if I'm really aesthetically attracted to him. But I don't want to have sex with him. But I'm an asexual who has had sex in the past and used to be in heterosexual relationships for years and thought I was heterosexual for years.
Oh. I do like that you brought up the past of this is what I thought was normal. This is not actually my reality. What led you to actually wanting to be an advocate for asexuals?
So I discovered I'm asexual in 2014, and it came about because I got this phone call out of the blue, because in blutalks, you know, we're all about synchronicity, intuition, everything happens for a reason. So I get this phone call out of the blue saying, oh, you can see a counsellor now. You've been on a waiting list for months. And I didn't know I was. The last counsellor I saw before this, she said, I don't need any more counselling because I know all the answers myself. So she said, there's no point in me seeing you anymore. So I was quite happy with this. And I'm like, oh, okay. So that was the end of it. And then this phone call out of the blue said, you know, you've been waiting all this time, and now you're finally going to see someone. And it was this lady, and she sounded nice on the phone. This was an NHS professionally trained counsellor. So I went to see her. This was in 2014, around March 2014. I went to see her, and I couldn't understand why I was going to see her. But I thought I will take this opportunity because I do believe everything happens for a reason. So I went there and I spoke to her, and the only thing I could think about was something that happened in my past, which was difficult. But I talked to her and I said, I can't bring myself to have sex anymore, because sex at the, you know, the expectation of sex at the end of the night with dates was making me almost wet myself. And I just don't, however much I get aesthetically attracted to the person, for example, you know, I just don't want sex with a person, with a guy. And my actual words were, you know, like, I love kissing, but I don't like sex. And I'm worried because I think that I'm not going to be able to find anyone for a relationship. I'm going to have to stop dating and looking for someone. And that's really distressing for me. So I was in a really distressed state about that. I was feeling not good. And she said absolutely the worst thing that I could have possibly heard. And so she said, this is an NHS professionally trained counsellor. I'm worried about you because you're going to have sex in order to keep a good guy. And I was absolutely horrified. And I'm there sitting, feeling like this intense emotion, thinking, I've come to you for help. I don't know what I'm meant to do now because you're not helping me. And you're saying the worst thing possible. And to me, it's like giving a guy a license to rape me because I'm not of that wiring. I'm not of that mindset. And, you know, I discovered in 2013 when I was seeing a Bangladeshi guy that was really aesthetically attractive that I just couldn't bring myself to have sex. However much I was attracted to him, however much my body was doing like natural things. So my body, although I'm asexual, I've actually got high arousal levels for an asexual person, but they're not aimed at anyone. They don't make me want to have sex. And people sometimes confuse asexuality with thinking you've got no arousal levels or no libido or sex drive. Some people do have that, but they have no one that they want to do that with. With me, I wouldn't call it a sex drive because I have no drive for sex whatsoever. With me, I have high arousal levels. For example, if I'm thinking about kissing, which is my favorite physical thing to do in a relationship, and if I'm thinking about kissing, or even with no one involved, even just thinking about kissing myself, with no guy involved or no one. So yeah, I went out of that counsellor's office and I was just horrified, and I didn't know what to do because it was like I came to her for help. I felt stuck. I felt I was the only one in the entire world, planet, and universe at that point that felt like I wanted a romantic relationship without sex, and there was no one like me. And I felt so like kind of different. I'd always felt like an alien growing up anyway because I've always been different. And even looking back now, like as a teenager, I only want to hold guys' hands and kiss them, like do all the PG stuff, if you like, with guys, which I still love, but maybe a bit more than that because I got some grey areas. So I got sexual behaviour with the way I like to kiss and dance, but it's with my clothes on because I'm nudity repulsed. But yeah, looking back on that time, it was really difficult for me. So after I left the office, I went home and Googled, I love kissing, but not sex. And that's when it came up with asexuality. And I found asexual community. This is back in 2014.
Yeah.
And that, to answer your question about how did I come to advocate for asexuals, first of all, there was people posting on asexuality.org, which is the biggest online forum for asexuals. They were posting about having an asexual meetup. Now, I wanted to meet people in real life because obviously I'd had the journey of coming from the counsellor, not even knowing people like me existed. And when I went home and Googled it, I found the forum, people talking, saying they wanted romance without sex. And I'm like, my God, this is so amazing. There's other people like me. I'm not alone.
Yes.
Yeah, it's so awesome when you feel and find
them. Yeah.
And so there was this thread in the Southwest. I live in the Southwest of England in the UK. And people were talking about meeting up, but no one was taking any action. And I'm quite loud and bubbly, as you can tell. But at that point, I wasn't so good in groups. So I've come on a huge transformational journey since I've discovered I'm asexual. So I started problems being in groups. I could only usually be one-to-one at school with someone or in college with someone. And the rest of the time I would be on my own. So I stepped up to the plate, if you like, and there was two girls who I organised an asexual meetup with. And I decided, because I was a leader, really, I'm a born leader because I've done retail management before, for example, even though I've got an anxiety condition, I have to say as well. I decided I'll step up to the plate because everyone's talking about it, no one's taking action, and I will arrange it. So we went to meet at Nando's, and that was the first time I met two asexuals in person. And then the year after, in 2015, I decided that, and I just knew that God had given me this mission to get asexuality recognised as a sexual orientation in its own right throughout the globe, so that no asexual has to live in fear of ridicule ever again. I know that intuitively from God and the universe, that's my mission. And everything I do now is pretty much driven towards that mission. Anything I start, I do I've written a book called Asexual Perspectives, which is out on Amazon. I've got another book for asexual coming out. I've got Fibromyalgia Self-Help Handbook, and even in that I mention asexuality. I've got a Make Money, Make Cash channel where I'm known as the asexual entrepreneur. So it's always got to have the thread of my greatest mission, which is getting asexuality recognized globally, which means getting through to the thought leaders, which are entrepreneurs, people like yourselves, creatives, and also through to heterosexuals, which is the biggest sexual orientation in the world. And so it's my hugest mission, and that's what I've got to do all my life, basically.
Oh, I love that. And I love your message, because I don't know if I've ever come across an asexual other than you. Wow. And that doesn't mean that they don't exist. It could be that they don't know. It could be that they don't talk about it. And so this conversation is important. And I know we had mentioned before that having this also as a part of the diversity, inclusion, equity, access kind of conversation would bring about some lovely discussion points to help you get into those political arenas, to say, hey, look, we're trying to change laws. You're trying to change that law. I'm trying to change this law. Let's support each other in having those conversations with people. Do you work with other people in the asexual community to help change these laws in their own country?
So there's actually another asexual person who's quite well known, and she's actually doing that herself with her own. So she's taking care of sort of that thing. She works more with LGBT plus groups.
Okay. Yeah.
But my specific mission given by God and the universe is to get asexuality recognized as sexual orientation in its own right globally. This means having recognition from people in the world that it actually exists, regardless of policy and procedure, that it's actually a real thing because we're living and breathing. So I come from an unpolitical, unscientific view. And there's lots of people doing work in the LGBT plus community, but I'm specifically, my mission is to get through to heterosexuals, if you like, and the bigger population at large. I feel that's where I'm best because of my past relationship experience with heterosexuals. I've had good and bad sex, and I've been in heterosexual relationships for half my life, so I understand heterosexuals and I understand asexuals, and that's how I can bring them together. So the A in LGBT plus QIA is meant to stand for asexual, although some people say it stands for aromantic and agender and other things as well. But I don't actually currently get particularly involved with LGBT plus. In fact, some asexuals feel very left out of that because it's still very sexualized, and our sexual orientation is based on the fact we lack sexual attraction, whereas theirs is still based on they experience sexual attraction but in a different way to the stereotypical norm and conventions.
I like that differentiation between them wanting it and you not wanting it, and that's really where the key difference is. Thank you for highlighting that.
Because there's lots of asexuals that feel left out of the LGBT plus community, but because my value and my worth as an asexual is not dependent on whether I'm part of LGBT plus community or not. I don't value myself on that. I know I'm asexual, and if we're always clumped with LGBT plus, no one can see the difference. We don't stand out enough because people are just like, oh, I get accused of being lesbian, for example, regularly. As soon as I say I'm asexual, oh, you like women then? It's like, no, I don't, because they don't understand the difference. There's no one actually saying, look, hey, these people who are asexual are different to LGBT plus community, although we're part of it, because although we're a minority like them, we don't experience a sexual attraction. And some people in LGBT plus communities, they don't like us being in their community for that. They're like, you're not one of us because we experience sexual attraction and you don't. That's what it can be like in some LGBT plus communities, although there's a lot of people working to foster different opinions. And I've got gay friends, I've got lesbian friends, they're very accepting. But two of the people who first found out I was asexual, one of them was gay. He wouldn't accept I was asexual for a whole year. It really affected my friendship with him. Wow. And so people who are minorities like that, they still don't necessarily accept us because they can't comprehend why someone wouldn't want sex. They think it's natural. And if someone's not that way, there's something wrong or broken with in us, or we've had a bad experience that's made us like that, or we're being celibate, you know, or and all these issues come up. And even though they might be a minority, some of them still think this way about us, even in the LGBT plus community. So I provide a voice for those people who, you know, struggle with that. There's some asexuals that like have bad mental health because they're like, we're not even accepted in LGBT plus communities. Of course, there's lots of communities where we are accepted, but there's some that's not. And I'm like, well, it doesn't bother me. If they accept me, they accept me. If they don't, they don't. That's okay, because I know I'm asexual. I'm here to support asexuals, and I'm here to give a voice to asexuals. And I show on my channel how asexuality is in real life context on a daily basis, so they can understand how to overcome the challenges of being asexual in this highly sexualized world every single day of their life. I give hope and inspiration to them. And that's what I'm here to do, because I am loud, I am talkative, I have that voice to project into the world to help them.
Yeah, so Sandra, I want to say thank you for the work that you're doing, because I think education is key. And I mean, when I was brought up, when I was born, it was man, woman.
Yeah.
And the man, woman, they have sex. And that's what it is, right? And now there's so many different variations of that, and so many different things. And I think until I met you and heard you say about asexuality, I had heard the term before, but I had never looked it up. I had never researched it. I had never tried to figure it out. And from someone who has been very sexual in her life, got married, had kids, had traumas, had a lot of stuff going on, my husband loves me for who I am and how we connect. And sex is over and above that. And it's far and few between. I mean, I'm really vulnerable. I wear my heart on my sleeve. I can say that. Am I asexual? Am I not? I don't know for sure. But the thing is, I think the message that you're sharing with the world, that everyone can be different, and that's okay. Yeah. And I can be heterosexual and not have sex, and there's nothing wrong with me. I am just asexual, and I'm okay with that, right? And I love that message, because I think there's so many people out there, you know, it sounds like you were that person as well, where you were being told, well, this isn't normal and you have to be this, and you'll never find a man if you, like, shame on that person. You will never find a man because they just value sex. Well, no, you're going to find a genuine, loving, compassionate, amazing man because he's not focused on just the sex. So thank you so much for bringing this into the forefront. I think it's such an important message that we are okay, and we don't have to label ourselves, but we can label ourselves and we can still be okay. It's a choice, right?
I mean, asexuality isn't a choice, but to label yourself is. So some people, they do think asexuality, we're choosing to be asexual, which we're not.
Right.
So I have to let people know that, because it's very important, because it's not the same as abstaining, and it's not the same as celibacy, which get hugely mixed up. So if you abstain and you're you know, you're experiencing sexual attraction, you're getting those urges, needs, wants and desires, but you're refraining for either religious reasons, or maybe you're just training yourself to not want sex for some reason. Some people believe that they want to take the sexual energy and use it elsewhere and things like this. So if you're abstaining and you're staying celibate, that's a choice, but you still get those urges, and therefore you're kind of repressing them and suppressing them, you could say. Some people might argue differently, because they might be like, well, I don't feel that way when I'm doing that. But anyway, you're kind of like, you're stopping taking that any further. You're choosing that. With me, I'm asexual. So I look at a guy, for example, I'm really attracted to younger guys. I'm an asexual cougar. Some people have problems with that word. I like myself. It's a younger one. And so I'm into younger, particularly foreign guys, particularly Indian, in their early to mid 20s. And I'm really young. I reprogrammed my mind years ago to be like 21 years old using NLP as well. So I've gone off on a tangent now when I'm thinking about younger guys. What are you talking about now? Live.
But thank you for that clarification. It's not your choice. Yeah. You are that, right? Yeah. Like all of us are born a certain way, and it's not a choice. It's just what we realize we are, and then how we choose to label ourselves. So that's really cool. Thank you for that clarification.
Yeah, because with me, like if I think back to my past relationships, I was in heterosexual relationships for over half my life, and I have had sex, like I said, good and bad. Like when my last long-term boyfriend, which was the last time I had sex, was in 2011, which I'm so glad I've been sex-free since then. I'm like going, woo! And everyone else was like, what? Like, if they haven't had sex for a day, they're complaining. I'm like, I haven't had sex for all that time. I'm so happy about it, you know? And so for me, I can see, like, looking back in my past relationships, my last sexual relationship, like he tried to instigate sex sometimes when I was doing the washing up by touching my breasts and stuff like that. And I hope this is okay to say. And he would come up behind me and I would be like washing up and having my headphones with music. And I hate washing up. I'm not a housewifey type of person whatsoever. And I just thought I'd rather stay here listening to my music and doing washing up than have sex. And, you know, this is how my mind works. And I love the kissing. At that point, I love touching as well. But when it gets to the point of sexual intercourse, with him, it was a good experience, actually. It wasn't bad. But I just rather be having the kissing and the cuddling and the holding hands. And I'm a hyper romantic and a hyper kisser, actually, that I've discovered through my asexual journey. So I've gone from not understanding myself so much in terms of romance and my character to really understanding that I'm a very sexy asexual girl, if you like. I'm kind of a asexual girl who doesn't experience sexual attraction, but who likes to move her body to dance and who likes to, like, I can kiss up to 3 hours and not get bored. You see, I'm a hyper kisser. It's very rare for the whole population.
Nice.
Asexuals mostly just like pecks on the cheek, the majority of them, or a little bit of kissing. Like for me, it's kind of like I'm more suited to a heterosexual person that way, but they want sex usually afterwards, whereas I just want the kissing. That is the main meal. That, you know, that's the dessert. It's everything for me. It's like a 3 or 4 course meal all rolled into one, and a full body workout. It's like, you know what I mean? So I'm very different. So when I said the word different, I'm different not only to the majority of the population, because a recorded 1% of the population is asexual. I'm like a very minority within that minority as well. But I feel that by having bits of different types of things in me, I'm able to help asexuals all across the spectrum, because we haven't discussed yet that asexuality is also a spectrum as well as a sexual orientation.
Yes. It was making me think about, okay, usually there are celebrities, influencers, you know, names that people are starting to know that help become the first few faces to help this message come out. Are there any people like that that are in your awareness right now that do talk about sexuality other than yourself?
There's, sorry if there's a bit of, I live next to a road, just in case you hear a motorbike going by. So there's a girl called Sandra Decker. She was the first person. So it's similar to Sandra. My name's Sandra. Her name's Sandra. Some people have said I look a bit like her. But her YouTube name is Swank Ivy. And she wrote the first book for asexuals called The Invisible Orientation. Now, she is someone that I do admire because she really cares about asexuals. She's not in it for like fame and fortune and for profiting. And she is someone who genuinely cares about asexuals. She does a spot called Letters to Asexuals regularly. And I really admire her. There are some, I don't want to say names and stuff, but there is someone who's quite well known to some people. And I have met this person in person, and they're not as nice as they portray. And they are doing a lot. But I don't think, if they weren't paid for it, I don't think they'd be doing as much to help asexuals, put it that way. But that's all I'm going to say, because obviously visibility is important. Any visibility is great. But I'm a person that where I make money or not, which at the moment I don't make money, any like little bit of money I make just goes back into like paying for web hosting and domains and stuff like that. So I've been helping asexual since 2015. Some people do recognize me, because some people come on like asexual dating apps and they're like, oh, I've seen you, like a famous YouTuber. And I'm like, yes. Some people in the asexual community do know who I am. But I think sometimes as well, I'm a bit more like an underdog, because I'm more on my own. I don't do like, there's lots of people that do collaborations, but because I'm more on my own with my mission, I'm at the moment, then I kind of don't have so much visibility as some do. But I'm not about visibility as much as working for my community. And I am always determined to create as much visibility for myself and my mission as possible, and to reach more things, and reach more people. I do some things with other people, but it's like I've had people interview me, right, in the asexual community or for projects, and some of them they've never aired because I think they just want to talk to me and get an interview out of me, and so they want to like have time with Sandra, but yeah, they're going to put me on their show, and it doesn't actually happen. So obviously some of them say that there's this, that, and the other going on in their lives they haven't had a chance to, but it has happened to me, so I have to be very careful who I give my time to. I don't tend to give personal advice anymore in messages a lot of the time. I used to do it all over my YouTube channel, and I do it in my books because I wrote Asexual Perspectives. That's 47 asexual stories, love, life, and sex, a celebration of asexual diversity. Because even in the asexual community, I did feel somewhat left out because I had grey areas. And that's why I started to write the book, to celebrate the diversity across the asexual spectrum. And also, you know, to talk about all the questions I got constantly in messages that I had to answer over and over again. Like, can asexuals masturbate? If you masturbate, can you be asexual? Do asexuals watch porn? Do asexuals get involved with BDSM at all? If I'm involved in that, can I not be asexual? You know, how does relationships work? Can you be with another asexual? Do you have to be with heterosexual? How does the heterosexual and asexual work? What about marriage and kids and all that lot? So in the Asexual Perspective book, I took all these questions and I strategically asked like 46 people and myself, which is asexuals across different parts of the spectrum and globe, all these questions so they could answer it. So it wasn't just my answers, and it was this collection of people's different answers. Obviously not every different orientation within the orientation is included because there's a lot of sub-identities and I didn't fit everyone in. It was people who wanted to volunteer for the book, who wanted to answer the questions. And so that's what I put into the book. Is pretty much everything you want to know about asexuality when you're just discovering it, plus more besides. And so I was the one who originally wrote that book. There's now other books that are kind of copying my type of book, if you know what I mean. Because I actually turned down a publisher, traditional publisher, and now they bring out books that are very similar to mine, the one I turned down. So yeah, to keep my book with 47 stories in it because they want to remove half the stories.
Oh no.
Yeah. So I'm curious, how has I mean, I'm curious about a lot of things. There's a lot of questions going on in my brain, but because you've just brought up so much, right? For our listeners, and it's awesome. But I'm curious how much your life has changed and how it's affected you since you've started to share this message with the world, since you started to bring this into the forefront. How has that changed your life and how you view things?
It's changed my life dramatically personally because I've had to overcome a lot of my own personal fears, boundaries, anxieties. So I'm a person who was diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder in 2010. I was actually had a 50-50 chance of living because when I was born, I had to have a forceps birth. I was just stressed baby. My mum was in labor from like the previous day till like the next morning. And so I get a bit emotional when I talk about this. I only found it out about 3 years ago. My mum only told me we had a 50-50 chance of living. So I have pre-birth trauma, which from my research so far means it's hardwired into your DNA. I don't. So at the moment, it's in theory, you can't get rid of it completely. I'm not saying never, but that's the theory. But I'm a person who doesn't believe you have to be fully healed or perfect to put your message out in the world. And I'm a person who doesn't do perfect lighting, perfect videos, because it's more important for me to serve others. That is limiting beliefs. Anyone who says you've got to have the right lighting, you've got to have perfect this, that, and the other, it's just such limiting beliefs. And I don't do that. And so for me, when I started the channel in October 2015, it was Asexual Awareness Week. And I knew within me, because I'm very intuitive, that I was going to have to talk about sex on my channel, because although a lot of asexuals don't want sex, it's going to crop up because it's how we relate to sex and how we do or do not have it and how we function without it, basically. And our whole life revolves around kind of like not experiencing sexual attraction or having a lack of it, because it's a spectrum. There's people who are on the more sexual end of the asexual spectrum who do experience sexual attraction, but only in limited, rare, specific circumstances, for example. And then there's pure asexuals who don't experience any sexual attraction. And so
Right.
if we go back to when I started my channel in October 2015, at that point, I could not talk about sex very much at all. Like, I hadn't spoken about sex in the past, apart from with a boyfriend at the time. My parents are very conservative in that way. It's always school will teach you. And the only thing that was available at school, like this is in my secondary school, was a video of a woman dressed as an egg, a guy dressed as a sperm, going towards each other saying, "One day my sperm will come, one day my..."
Oh my God.
And that was
Disney
my
princess.
education. Yeah, it had this song on, and I always remember it. It was in a chemistry class, I think, or bio. I think it was it's a biology class, but by the chemistry teacher. I remember her distinctly. I'm thinking, this is my sex education, because my mum's like, your school will teach you that. I'm like, well, they taught me a lot, didn't they? So I was very naive about sex back then, which has like been part of my journey and why I got into situations I did, which we haven't gone into yet. But basically, in 2015, I just realized you're going to have to talk about sex to help other people. And I always believe you can either take your past and history and things with you to the grave and help no one, or you can put it out there to help someone and possibly save a life. Because my book, my Asexual Perspectives book, has stopped people being suicidal, for example. I got messages to say I was suicidal before I met you. I thought it was broken. And then I realized there's other people like me, and, you know. And so for me, I believe in, it doesn't matter, it's my past. I don't have sex now, and I have no problem in talking about it now. I can talk about it like a drink of water or something, but it wasn't the case back then. You know, I was so shy to talk about it. I wouldn't talk about it with a friend or anyone. I used to make naughty jokes sometimes, like bum jokes and things like that as a child, and stuff like, oh, this spaghetti shape looks like a bum, and things like that, you know, kind of like kiddish stuff. But yeah, I had to push through my fears and boundaries. I'm like, you're gonna have to do this if you want to get your message through. And then going back to even to 2012, when I had a job, I was so scared about being on social media, about being on Facebook. I wasn't on Facebook then, and I was just so scared. And I'm like, oh my God, but the world's gonna see me, and what if I get terrible people? And I had all this like chatter going on. And I knew, though, I talked to the supervisor in my old job, and I'm like, if I'm going to impact the world, I knew that I was going to have to change this and going to have to bravely do it. So I went on my Facebook, and not long after, I made it public. So it's been public ever since. And that's like been pretty much like, you know, like my journey. I don't know if I turned it off once when I got a few people that were being a bit weird on there with me, but the rest of the time it's been like completely open, public. This is my personal page. And then I've just created multiple pages. I got multiple Twitter accounts. I'm on YouTube all the time, usually daily vlogging, and I do a live stream chat show. And so people can ask me any questions they want in live chat. And so I'm just like living and breathing asexuality. I run 6 asexual groups on Facebook as well. So I'm just all over the place, all over social media. And I realized, even with my last Asexual Perspectives book, I actually didn't promote myself enough, because in order to promote my books, I need to kind of promote myself more. And I still get a little bit shy, I think, around that. And I'm thinking, no, Sandra, you need to get out there more, because the more people see you, the more people will be able to be helped by you.
Yeah, so, you know what? It's interesting that you use the word shy, not a word I would use to describe you. But
no.
people wouldn't describe me as shy either. And I was very shy as a child. I didn't want to speak up, and I didn't want to, right? Maybe there was some anxiety. I want to go back to that, because I think that's so fascinating that you grew up with anxieties, and now that you have, I want to say, and I might say the wrong words here, okay? Correct me if I'm wrong, but you have now chosen the label. You have told the world who you are, and that it's okay to be that.
Yeah.
I just can't help think about all of the lives that you have changed, all of the anxieties that people have experienced that you have helped change and bring them into the forefront. And there's got to be like a coaching business in that for you to, I mean, if that's what you choose, to make money to help other people break through the anxiety of being silent and not being heard and not being seen and not saying, I choose this label. Do you get what I'm saying?
I do offer coaching. It's something I offer, but my main passion is writing books that change lives from pain to gain and doing book publishing. That's my actual main passion. So there's a lot of people that talk to me about coaching. They're like, oh, I can help you make £10,000 of coaching. It's not interesting for me. If people want my coaching, they can come and get it. It's on my asexualise.com website, and I can help those people. But I've got some coaching skills, but I'm more of a coach by experience than I am. I went to the coaching academy and did a weekend live coaching course with them, for example, to get the skills. But when I'm not doing writing, which I haven't done much of my, like, I've got my Asexual Guide to Sex book that I've been working on for 4 years, and things keep getting in the way of that. Whenever I don't do that, my soul dies. And when my soul dies, that's not good. So people keep talking to me about coaching, but that is not my passion. That's not what I want to focus my business on, because that is not my passion and my joy. And I think that, people see books as just a side hustle. For me, I see myself leaving a lasting legacy of tons of books that when I die and I'm not here anymore, I will be still saving lives. And people who are suicidal will somehow intuitively stumble across my books, and they'll be like, oh my God, I'm so glad I saw her book. And they'll pick it up and know that they're not broken. So for me, coaching, like, obviously you can do one-to-one coaching or you can do group. I do run a small coaching and training group on Facebook called Asexualise Academy Club that anyone is welcome to join. It's a paid membership, and I do training and coaching in there, but it's got very tiny. But there's a lot of people I find in the asexual community that've got mental health difficulties, so a lot of them require a counselor and a therapist rather than a coach.
Right.
And so I do offer coaching. I'm a trained advisor, actually. I've got a diploma in advice and guidance. But I do a lot of coaching on my channel, so I do a lot of stuff for free. I'm happy to make money through asexual stuff. That'd be my ideal goal, that I would make a lot of money through books, for example, because I know the more money you have, the more you can help people in theory, because you've got more money. But my drive and my motive, which I even did a quiz about for a job years ago, my driver is not first and foremost money. It's a sense of achievement and responsibility. And with asexuals, I feel I have a responsibility to them to help them have a bigger voice than they do. One heterosexual guy, actually, I met on Facebook dating, he says you give a voice to the voiceless, and that's what I'm about. And so I've plowed a lot of my own money. I used to be in management for years. I plowed a lot of my own money into what I do to help asexuals. A ton of money that my parents would probably be mortified about if they knew. But for me, it's all about helping other people, and I will do whatever it takes while I'm alive on this earth, And I was a very shy, introverted girl at school. I used to get bullied. I didn't have a good childhood. I was suffering depression until 2012 when I got diagnosed with fibromyalgia, and that actually saved me from depression. So that's another story.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it actually, because I stopped talking negatively to myself. It took me 6 months to come to the terms of the fact that I've got a disability for life. And when I realized that and accepted that, I then embraced it as my pain being my power. And I was able to block out the pain using the power of my mind. I don't take meds for fibro. And I wrote my autobiographical fibromyalgia self-help handbook, which is told in a superhero style. And I've actually got a costume. I'm Ace Fibro Girl, which Ace is slang for asexual, or nickname for asexual. So I talk about in that book how to reduce pain in 25 aspects of your life, even if you haven't got fibromyalgia. So it's like a personal development book for anyone, the fibromyalgia self-help handbook. So I went from being shy, introverted, couldn't speak in groups, and then to asexuals. Now I organise asexual meetups in person. I've been doing that since 2015. I'm on my YouTube channel. I talk about sex. So for me, it's the journey that's changed me, the entrepreneur journey, the whole asexual journey. I started in entrepreneurship in 2012 when I saw Tony Robbins live on stage. That was the start of my self-love journey, because I didn't love myself then. So in the same year I was diagnosed with fibro, the same year I met Tony Robbins. And actually through meeting Tony Robbins, I didn't see, he was on stage at Success Resource event. I discovered I'm actually meant to be younger. I'm actually meant to be young, living this younger teenager life, not what society expects me to do. So now I'm like, I don't cook or clean for a guy. If a guy wants to be in a relationship with me, he's not getting clean at me. I like to live separately. He can do everything for himself. If he comes over to my place, he can cook and clean and wash up after himself, because I'm not interested in doing stuff like that. I don't like conventions and norms. I've never wanted kids since I'm 15, because I noticed you were talking about that earlier. And so for me, even if I use my own money for however long it takes, then I will do that to help asexuals. But obviously, it would be good if I made more money. And you know, I love money. I do make money, make cash show. So, but I tend to go on eBay and Facebook Marketplace. I teach people like beginners how to make a bit of cash online, because when I was redundant, I found it really hard to live off benefits for food. And so that's what I teach them, how to get extra money for food and to pay bills and stuff. So I just get excited about everything I do. You might have noticed that.
Yeah. Oh, yes. I want to make sure that people know where to find you. So I know that you're on different social media and potentially a website. What are some of those names and links? Like, how do we actually find you?
Okay, so go to Asexualise, my Asexual Life, which is my channel spelled with S's.
Okay.
So yeah, it's Asexualise.
Okay.
Asexualise, my Asexual Life, and then I'm on asexualise.com is my website. I've got a chat bubble on there. Asexualise@gmail.com. Facebook.com/asexualise, but with a C, because Facebook will not accept the word asexual. I once had a sex coach interview me, which is on my YouTube channel, and Facebook wouldn't allow it because I had the word asexual. So you can't put asexual in an HTTP address. So you have to use ACE, you know, UALISE, basically ACEX. So yeah, so that's how they can connect with me. My personal Facebook is Sandra Bellamy Beat Redundancy Blues, but that's for another brand that I still have a blog on, because I used to help people who were redundant to get back into work years ago, as well as working in retail.
Ooh, okay, so if there was like a couple words or a sentence that you could just leave people with to make sure that this is what they get from this conversation, what would that be?
I would like to say, just because you're born into a sexuality does not mean to say you are that sexuality, and that everyone has a right to be who they truly are. And this applies to everything, even if it's not to do with sexuality. You might have been conditioned from birth to believe you're a certain way, but then you can discover who you truly are. And please be that, because the world needs unique you.
Oh, wow, Sandra.
How powerful is that? Wow. Love it.
This has been absolutely wonderful. And I know that this is just kind of the beginning of us getting to see you and know you with the blutalks interviews. Are you doing a blutalks stage in the future?
I'm doing Oxford on the 23rd of October this year, 2023. I'm at Oxford doing a talk, but I did a chapter for blutalks, which is called it's 9 ways how to reinvent yourself to become your future self. So there is a lot of story to deal with my reinvention. And I might be basing my talk on Oxford on that, which incorporates asexuality, but obviously is slightly different as well. So yeah, really looking forward to that. So that's in the chapter with Ken Honda that's coming out for blutalks.
That's wonderful. So we get to see more of you, and we get to hear more about your journey. And I'm loving this. And I'm so proud of you. I do have to mention to everyone, not just you, Sandra, that we were doing some podcast pitching at the boot camp, and I loved your pitch. I was so very proud of you. I was like, yes. And then when people were saying yes, it's great. I can't wait to hear and see more. So
thanks for having me.
Much. I'm going to stick you in the background. Susan and I are going to say goodbye. And okay. Bye, Sandra.
Thanks so much for having me. Lots of love to you all.
You're welcome. Woo! What a final day.
Wow.
This is the end of day 5 of blutalks Amplifier Message. And I want to thank Susan again for being my co-host today. She's like, you need somebody? I was like, I just love it. While I can do this on my own, it is so much more fun to do it with somebody else. So if you could just share something that you love from today, we'll end with that.
Yeah, there's so much information from today, but it's been a lot, and in a lot of different directions. And I think I can summarize it all for me. And the message I got from everybody, which is you're human first. And what you choose to do with your life is up to you. And how you live that is up to you. But you're human first.